hear him.
We cannot hear Jared.
Is it on this? It should be piping right through. Are you on mute, Jerry? Can you check that?
Check. No, it's check.
Okay, man. You know this. I don't.
I don't know if I know this.
What about this? Is it that one?
Jerry, can we hear you now? Check.
Can you hear me now? Check.
Coming through.
Okay, hold on. Ready? Jerry, give me a try now.
Can you hear it? Check.
No.
Check.
Is there a mute button on his screen?
There might be. On StreamYard, did you allow access to
your microphone?
To your microphone.
Yeah, I can see the thing moving up and down.
Let's see. It should be live. It should be working.
Let's see. Camera, microphone, audio. Check. Yeah.
Says the mic's working.
Check.
Oh, we are in. Thank you, brother. It was a setting issue.
Yeah.
But luckily, our IT director, Matt, figured it out.
Yeah, I'm learning.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? This is the first one with the software, man. Jerry, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming on.
Mark, what's happening, man?
Dude.
Wait, I'm the first one with the new software?
Yeah,
first one live.
We these podcasts, you know, we're dynamic people. We want to talk to people. We don't want to just sit there and regurgitate bullshit. So we wanted, and we also wanted it on the main channel. We tried to start a new channel. At the end of the day, we have 400,000 subscribers on the Tiger Fitness channel. So we're like, hey, why not use that? So I'm like, now it gets people out there, gives us an opportunity to promote brands, promote people, you know, get people more following, and just have a good time and talk about what people want us to talk about, and be on a bunch of different platforms. This will be across Facebook, across YouTube, across all our different channels. And not only are you the first one, I want to say thank you, Jerry. There are a couple people in this industry, after I kind of told everybody that I did have the cancer removal, Jerry was one of them. He was the first one to send me a long voice text, just basically saying, you know, props. Him and John Meadows were the first two outside of our like local circle, like Brent and all those guys. So right. Jerry, I want to say thank you. Your friendship is very much appreciated, and it's an honor to not only have you on, but to also now be doing business with you.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, let me say I'm glad that things worked out the way they did, as far as, you know, you guys catching the cancer early and stuff. I told you, I was actually driving. That's why I couldn't text. So I like to use the talk and the voice memo, things like that. But yeah, like I recently, just 2 weeks ago, had a friend who passed away because, you know, she had not gotten checked. You know, people had told her about this mole in her back and she hadn't. And by then it was too late, you know, so I'm just glad you grabbed it early. And it's something, I think it's really common, you know, like Rich Piana had something similar happen to him. I mean, so many people I know have had moles removed that were different types of cancer and stuff. And as long as they get it early, you know, everything's good to go, you know? So I think that's the key, is early detection. But yeah, man, I'm pumped to be, you know, back on the Tiger Fitness website, podcast. Yeah. The podcast, the website, it's everything at this point. But yeah, and as far as, you know, doing business together, Mark, thanks for the opportunity, man. Like, you know, I said, you know, in the video that I made, you know, just a chance phone call, a random phone call about business and just catching up, you know, led to, you know, where we are now. And I'm just super excited. I'm pumped, man.
You know what? It's an honor to carry your stuff. And here's the kind of where we're going with Tiger Fitness and what we're doing is we've managed to build up a really strong e-commerce site, you know, one of the best in the country at what it does, based on all rating system that I can see, and based on what I can tell is overall industry sales. And my thing with the brand is that we have an opportunity with our platform to not only, you know, help people reach their goals, but also to build people up, to give people good information, to align ourselves with really good people. And that's what we want to do, and really good brands. And we've managed to do that. You know, one of our best-selling brands is our best-selling brand outside of our commonly owned brands like Ambrosia and MTS Nutrition would be Blackstone. And people, why Blackstone? Well, it fills a niche that our brands don't fill. And honestly, PJ's always been good to me. He's a good guy. People have different opinions about him, but you know, I have this pretty much same, you know, kind of polarizing personality kind of thing. But, you know, we align ourselves with people who are out there and are good people. And like when we threw our charity event for children's cancer, the Rumble in the Burrow. PJ was the first one to come in and just go off about how he wants to be a part of it. They made one of the largest donations. Just good people, misunderstood. But, with you, we have history, and you have these products that are actually, you're explaining them, and you're really vested in them. You have a lot of research dedicated to them, and they're actually really different and really cool. Can you tell us about your brand?
Yeah. So, when I started GFT Labs, it was kind of like, it was something that I've been thinking about for a while. And of course, you have to go through a lot of different things before you just start a business. Obviously, people think like, well, one day I decided to make a multivitamin, all of a sudden I'm in business and I'm a millionaire. They think that's how it works. So I worked with some of the biggest companies around, I was including 5% nutrition. And then I was offered the spot with Primeval Labs. And I learned a lot about the business aspect of Primeval Labs, knowing the owners of the company really well. I was almost like a third kind of person in there with the two owners that we would talk about all these things. So I learned about all that stuff. So when the time came and Rich passed away, I kind of said, you know what, he used to push me to do my own thing. Like I would always talk to him, but he's like, yeah, just do your own thing, do your own thing. And I finally figured I had it. Like, this is what I want to do. But now I was like, well, I don't want to compete with everybody. Like everybody's got a pre-workout, everybody's got a Laxogen, and like everybody's got these things, but there are things that I feel like used to work really good back in the day. And they just kind of got discarded because the newer things came out, right? We're looking for new research, the newer things. I'm like, well, what if we took those older things and started combining them with the newer things? Just because they're old doesn't mean they don't work. So I went like literally back to the drawing board, and I had this mentor named Jim Figio when I was a teenager who was really into, his wife was a naturopathist, and they were into homeopathy, and they were really into the natural means and different herbs and different nutrients and combining them to get results instead of using drugs. I mean, that's what they were really into. And by being around him and learning a lot of stuff, I learned a lot about these things like suma root that almost nobody really knew about, but they knew about beta-actosterone. So now I'm kind of looking at it going, well, if people, are, they understand what's going on and they have some new things, if we could put new things together with the old, like new school and old school together, we're going to have the best of both worlds, and I don't want to compete with anybody. So that's why I didn't come out with like high stim pre-workouts. Like everything that we have, it fills a void that I felt like was needed, that products that people needed, like I needed, clients needed, etc. And that's where the whole thing started from.
That's awesome. See, I was listening I was actually in Minnesota driving around seeing stores, and I'm in the car and I'm like, this is what we're all about. Cause I mean, we, I kind of got on board the whole, I hate to say this, but I was kind of the first bodybuilder guy to get really into health, right? Like the whole liver cleanse and the whole like nectar thing and all that. And even before then there was, I believe it was post-cycle, so there was a post-cycle, whatever it was called. I forgot what it's called, but I've always liked having things beyond the norm, because there's more to bodybuilding than and to fitness and to being healthy than just making gains, than just having a ton of stimulants in your system pre-workout. And I think you and I are in the same boat. Like when we were younger, I'm like 27 right now, but when I was in my early teens, when we were younger, it was like, okay, I just want to make gains. I just want to make gains. I just want to make gains. And then you turn and you hit mid 30s. You're like, I want to make gains, but I don't want to die. And then you hit 40 and it's funny. I always tell people, I'm like, my definition of a good workout is one that I didn't injure myself. It's not like when I was in my 30s, like if I didn't get a super pump, if I didn't feel like I was going to die at the end because I worked so hard, it was a wasted workout. And now, as I get older, it's like I look at myself, if there's no torn muscles or no injuries, I'm like, that was a fucking fantastic workout. It could be at Planet Fitness. It could be at fucking Metroflex. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if I live to lift another day, I'm good, man.
At this age too, again, I'm 29, so I'm a little older than you, right? But if this is somebody like, I'm on my 50th, 29th birthday anyways. Literally, like you get in the gym and you feel things that you normally didn't feel when you were younger. You're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go a little bit heavier right now. Maybe I shouldn't do this exercise even though I like it, and I didn't listen to it, tore my pec. I mean, it is what it is. And that was the wake-up call. It was like, you're not 20 years old anymore. You need to pay attention to what's going on,
Bro, you feel tendons and ligaments you didn't know you fucking had. You're like, what is this hurting right now? Why does this hurt? Matt, see, the thing is, Matt,
we're trying to get the roll-ons for, like the CBD roll-ons and stuff.
Dude, you start to look at shit like you're like, man, you're literally looking at pain relievers like you used to look at steroids. It's like your new Trenbolone is like Aleve. You're like, dude, that shit's a fucking amazing, bro. But Matt moved out here, I think my age, like he came in here like a fucking rugby player, like playing like semi-pro rugby.
I felt great when I moved out here, and then all of a sudden
he started getting fucking injured. I was like, but I started feeling better. So I think it was one of those things where symbiotically I became him and he became me.
I got the shit end of this trade.
Yeah, you did. I mean, it ended up working out great for me.
Don't worry, man. When you're 28 someday, you'll feel it too. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know. 27, it's a bitch of an age. It's one of those hump ages. It's a birthday nobody celebrates. Nobody celebrates 41. Like my wife turned 41. Should I say that? And I'm like, nobody fucking cares. Like after 40, everybody just cares about 50. Like once you get past a certain age, like your first 20 years, everybody cares. Like, oh my God, you're 17. Yay. Quinceañera at 15. Yay. You turn 21. Nobody cares after that. It's like, fuck it. You go by decades. And when you're 30, you're 30. So I want to know more. So we have 2 of your products on Tiger Fitness, and the one was really dope because you were comparing it to some drugs that I can't publicly compare it to, just in explaining it to me, because we both have a common knowledge of these drugs, but just without getting us taken off of YouTube, because I wish we could say the truth, because like, as we learned with that C19 thing, that I can't say that word on YouTube, you can't talk about things that might be correct if they don't want you to talk about. So because the FTC, FDA, and whatever else is involved, we're going to have to keep this down to, tell us about the 2 products we have. Tell us about what makes them special and why you created them.
Well, T2G is the Time to Grow product, which I did a series of weight gaining or muscle gaining videos a few years ago, where I gained a bunch of muscle back. It was just something I wanted to do and see if I could still do it at my age. And I called it Time to Grow. So I was like, that's kind of a cool, catchy little T2G, Time to Grow. I'm like, I'd love to make a product like that. And I started delving into, the different things that I used to use back in the day that worked really well. Some of the newest stuff like Shilajit, which is an amazing compound that has so many properties that we can't even sit here and list them all. But I mean, there are things like, I encourage people to look up Shilajit and really look at what it does, because it for many of the things that are going on right now in our world, it actually would help with those things, like outside of bodybuilding health-wise. But it's an amazing adaptogen. I figured, Suma Root itself was amazing. Shilajit was amazing. Cordyceps were amazing. I said, has anybody ever combined these? So I started looking at the different pathways, at the way they work. They were all adaptogens working from different pathways. So I'm like, wait a second. This reminds me of something that we do in bodybuilding, stacking. We take different compounds that work different ways, and we put them together to create a synergy or something stronger than the whole, right? So that's what I did. I started using that right away, and it helps your body adapt to stress. And it's like all kinds of stresses, which means, I'm sure we understand now, which we didn't when we were trying to make gains before, but we're in the gym for 90 minutes a day. The rest of the day that we're out can undo what we did in the gym if stress, diet, everything is off. So controlling stress. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so controlling stress is important, but, weight training is a form of stress that your body has to adapt to be able to grow. So combining them together, it was a home run. And as soon as I started taking it, I noticed like my little aches and pains went away. I was stronger in the gym. I felt great. It also helps normalize hormones to where if they're low, it brings them up. If they're high, it brings them down. So if you have like high cortisol, it'll bring it down. And there's also a lot of studies about Shilajit bringing your testosterone up if it's low.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about adaptogens there, and you look at Rosavins from, you look at Rosavins, you look at Bacopa, you look at all those different things, and they all have these great properties. And adaptogens are cool things because they're just what they say they are. They allow your body to adapt to stress. And I think they're very underutilized, very underused, and it's all about application. So, T2G struck me as pretty cool, unique, and something that could definitely help people. And then there's another one as well. Do you want to kind of get into that?
Yeah, that's my baby. This is one that I felt the need to create, and it was very interesting because I found it by chance. So myself, I have genetic anxiety, which what that means is like, it's not situational where I'm in a situation that I get anxiety. I was born with it. Like I have it. I've been medicated for it before, etc. The medications for me made me like a zombie. Like I couldn't get happy, sad. It was just an awkward part of my life where I was like, I would rather not use these medications. Mm-hmm. And I stopped, and I wound up medicating myself using alcohol, drugs, etc. because that's what you do when you're trying to, not be anxious. Now for me, it's like, people with natural anxiety, it's like a fireball sitting like in your solar plexus that just sits there all the time.
Yeah.
like a tension that just never goes away, that just wants to explode, and it won't explode or stay or go away. You're just constantly in this state of like stress that, it's hard to get around, like just regular day-to-day activities like that.
Yeah.
So, there's got to be something that would help. And I really wasn't sure. I looked at there's a lot of things on the market. I looked at those things. And finally, I ran across some notes from my mentor before, Jim Figio, same guy I was talking about before. And he had something in there called DLPA. Now, I wasn't, when I worked for him, I was really interested in, like, we were talking about gains, muscle. I wasn't interested in anything else in that store that he had unless it made you grow muscle. So DLPA to me I never even paid attention to it. I didn't even know what it was. And I started reading his notes, and I was like, wait a minute, anti-anxiety, anti-pain, anti-depression. And then I said, just let me do some research on this one compound. So I did. And I found a host of legit studies, published literature, books that were written about this compound where they have used it successfully to treat people with anxiety and depression and get them off all of their medications.
Wow.
So as soon as I read that, I was like, it's too good to be true. It has to be bullshit. Let's see what's up. So I ordered some and I started taking it. And I noticed that there was an effect, but I said, you know what, like, there's a product that I think, of course, we've all used it before. It's called GABA, that I call the natural Xanax. When you take it at night, it actually helps you calm down, helps you sleep. Now, you can't really take it during the day because you don't want to be sleepy. So I started looking at, could you combine the GABA with the DLPA to get a compounded effect where it would just keep you calmer throughout the day? So I called manufacturing. We made a few different batches of it. We started it. And it was literally about 4 days after I was on the product, I noticed when I was driving, somebody cut me off. And not only did I not flip out, but I didn't get that burst of like adrenaline or that burst of anxiety that I normally get. I got pissed. And then all of a sudden I came right back down to baseline like that. I mean, it was like instant. And of course, my wife, Erin, notices these things right away because, if not, I'm like a maniac. So she was like, how, what the hell is going on? In the last few weeks, I've seen you just be like very like calm and level. And I explained to her, I said, it's the product. So I gave it to her and some of her friends at work, which they're nurses at the CVOR. They would do open heart surgery, emergencies, heart transplants. So they're totally stressed out. So once I started giving it to them and seeing the reaction in real time in their job, which was situational anxiety, I knew not only did it work for people with genetic anxiety, but it worked for people with situational anxiety. And that's how Delparol was created right there.
That's actually fantastic. Hey, Matt, can you find the page for these products and link it in the chat?
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be fantastic. So,
yes, sir.
That's why this is exciting, because it's something that can help people in their day-to-day life. And as you said, like, we always, like, when my company pioneered the intra-workout category, I try not to be just a pompous prick, but when we came out with Extend, the whole thing was, we were looking at categories. We looked at, there's a pre-workout. That time there was post-workout with Cell Tech. Members that there's Cell Tech. And, but there was no intra-workout. So we, as bodybuilding aficionados, as the bodybuilding community, as the fitness community, we are a lot of the people who, own these supplement brands. So we tend to look at things through this singular view of gains and the singular view of the training period, pre, during, post. Then you have a fat burner and you have a protein shake. And that was all we thought before. But now this industry has gotten smarter. We have genius scientists like Dr. Hector, we have Ziegenfuss is still kicking around. All these guys have been around. Willoughby, who I just saw at the ISSN 3 weeks ago. These guys are really smart. So the thing is, we've been able to parlay all this research and data we have and go beyond it. And then think about, okay, wait, when does muscle growth happen? And then we've found some other cool things through this industry. And you can say what you want about our industry. Like, because of the fitness industry, we have things like fasting going mainstream. Fasting, well, I'm somebody trying to make gains. It's not the best program. For a diabetic or someone with lifestyle issues or chronic pain, it's a great thing. You look at what we've done with blood sugar regulations, what we've done with insulin mimetics, how we've taken things taken by diabetics, made natural versions of it, such as metformin versus berberine, and we've actually brought that out there. We've found so many naturally found DSHEA, which is the basically naturally occurring law where we can make dietary supplements, DSHEA compliant supplements that can address a host of issues or potential issues before they even happen, which is what's so profound about what we're doing. And people look at, the sport nutrition industry. I'm like, do you understand where the anti-aging and sport nutrition industry, what we've done? For example, when the pandemic hit last year, what did we find out in studies afterwards helped? Vitamin D. We've been slanging that shit for years. It's what we do. We make vitamin D. Vitamin D is something that I've had written in my diet programs as a coach. I'm sure you have too, Jerry.
Yeah.
At 5,000 IUs a day, I could look at programs I wrote back in 2004, and it shows vitamin D. Vitamin D was when we recommended supplements to people when we had Team Salvation, which was a free personal training program. We always recommended vitamin D. And now you see throughout the news all this data coming out that vitamin D could have made a lot of things a lot better last year.
Yeah.
And the fitness community was so far ahead of everybody, so far ahead of it. And you're big in, I want to segue. So we're in general health and fitness, and I think you've kind of, your personal training, like the way you train, has it more evolved from hardcore lifting to general fitness, Jerry?
Well, good question. So, after I tore my pec, of course, my body was like, listen, dude, you need to do something else. Like, that's just all there is to it. And, for a while, I really stumbled trying to find my way. I was doing like random workouts. I was trying to do like, new functional workouts and stuff, which, by the way, I totally hate because I'm terrible at them.
It's humbling.
Build up all these stabilizing muscles that are all randomly stabilizing the way you shouldn't to be, fit as being a bodybuilder, and then you try to do these different workouts and you can't do them. But, eventually I wound up, I'm getting ready to start shooting a movie called Skynet Rising, which is one of the Terminator movies. And I had to put on 15 pounds again for the role. So I went back to training like I used to train again. And I'll be honest with you, like, I enjoy it now, but I can't handle the volume, even remotely the volume that I used to, or the weights that I used to whatsoever. So it's like, you just, every day is a challenge. Like, you go in the gym and you try to see what you can feel, see what you can progress at, and see where you're at. But, like before it was like, okay, I hit 300 pounds of the bench press last week. I got to hit 310 this week. Like, you had specific things that you did, and every week you did those and you checked them off, and it was very like methodical. Now it's much more instinctual, I think.
Yeah, I kind of feel that. I've actually, I think for me, I've actually gotten better. I just have to pay more attention to things that start hurting.
Yeah.
I've actually increased, and I added boxing in, which is my functional movements. You're not going to catch me on a Bosu ball or doing any CrossFit or any shit like that. I still kind of train like a bodybuilder, but for me, I found that you have to hit those muscles that are kind of not hit. Like, you can't just work in a singular plane, or else overuse starts kicking in and everything gets really weird. But also I noticed that if I do go over that training threshold, like, I feel like shit. I can't function. And it affects me outside of work. I was at a point once where I was so overtrained that my kid was having a soccer practice, and the ball, and I was playing keeper because it was a parent participation one. And the ball was kicked and it went in the net, and I moved after it went in the net. That's how bad my reaction time was. I'm like, maybe I should scale it back a little bit. And, for me, that meant getting rid of squats and deadlifts. Those just tore my system up. So I could do all the machines and dumbbells and all that shit in the world. Once I start squatting and deadlifting and boxing, dude, I'm over the edge.
Do you think it would be a choice for you, though, whether it be like, could your system handle either boxing or squats and deadlifts, not both? Or is it just like squats and deadlifts screw up your system?
Overall volume. So I think if I was to just do squats and deadlifts and get rid of all the minutia of, pressing and fucking lateral raise, I think your body has this finite, your nervous system has this finite thing. And I'm not saying it's overtraining, or else I'd be in bed right now with rhabdo. I think your body has this finite amount of training that once it hits it, your nervous system just goes, fuck you, and just kind of shuts down. And I think that's what hits me more at this age as ever. And I like when people go, well, when you're on steroids, dude, steroids don't fuck with your nervous system.
Not like that. It doesn't. I mean, now if I could do a hard leg workout or hard back workout specifically, I come home like within 30 to 40 minutes of eating my meal, my eyes are starting to close. And most of the time I wind up like face down on the bed with the dog laying next to me. Like, it looks like somebody shot me from behind. I'm just laying there. And I'm like, man, before I could do a whole leg workout and then go train 5 clients afterwards, right? And then go work another job.
Yeah.
It's different, like you said, the central nervous system is something that, I guess as we get older, it changes too. Like, your body adapts differently like that. But recovery of the central nervous system, I don't think people understand, is a key to making gains too. If your central nervous system is not recovered to the ability where you can recover, then you can't grow. You have to recover first. So I think that, of course, T2G actually helps with central nervous system recovery. There's a whole bunch of literature on that too. Helps heal your central nervous system faster than if you weren't taking it at all. And there's a couple of different things out there in the market where, like Humana Forte is another one of those that help your body recover your central nervous system. But before these products came out, it was the only thing you could do was rest. That was it. The only way to beat that was to stop training.
Yeah, I'm really interested in T2G, man. I'm gonna get HQ to send me some of that today. I'm really interested. I love the data behind it. I really do, because I looked it up and I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. Just being real, like I was gonna pick up your brand regardless, but I was very impressed by the ingenuity and uniqueness of the product and the fact that it does have application. Now, since outside of taking T2G, for let's say anybody, let's say if you're 20, if you're 30, if you're 40, if you're 50, whatever, what are some of your best tips for recovery? Because I have mine and people probably seen all my shit I'm out there, man. I own a red light, a sauna. Like I'm fucking, my house is literally, I could charge someone to just stay here for a weekend, which I was going to do to you, and just recover. Like it is a recovery / sexual fetish forte. So whatever, what do you recommend? Like if I came to you and said, Jerry, man, I can't fucking recover, man. I got my T2G. I'm eating whatever. What do I do?
I mean, for me, one of the things that I really like, and I know not a lot of people do this, is I like to take essential aminos right before I go to bed, right? Your body is repairing itself while you're asleep. And you know that the amino acid pool, if you've eaten a few hours before you go to bed, the amino acid pool is depleted. So if you can fill that amino acid pool up quickly, or at the very least get them in your blood before you go to sleep, your body will have those active aminos to use while it's repairing itself. Now, there are other times where I get up in the middle of the night and I take a few more sips in the middle of the night when I get up to go pee. So now my body has, I look at it like this. When you go to the hospital and you get, injured or whatever, they don't just literally give you a pill with 4,000 milligrams of an antibiotic. They give you an IV because it has to slowly be introduced into your body so it can absorb it all. Well, I know we can eat tons of protein. It has to break it down. But even after your body breaks it down, it doesn't drop 90 grams of amino acids in your blood at once. It slowly trickles into your blood and your body uses them. So in the same aspect, if you mix an essential amino acid or a BCA or something like that with water, you have a few sips of it, it'll enter your bloodstream like that very quickly, and those aminos are there. Now, that could be one reason why they're not recovering. The other reason could be they could be just completely grinding themselves into the ground, like with their workouts. Like I think a lot of people go, I'm going to go to the gym and have a good workout. Well, what does that mean? Well, basically, if I can't walk out of the gym when I'm done, well, that doesn't mean you stimulate any growth, and it does mean maybe you went too far. Like if you go in the gym and you fail with 450 on the bench press 1 week, and I go in the gym the next week and I got 455 on there and I fail with it with the same amount of reps, I'm out of the gym. I know that I've used more than I needed to create new muscle growth and a new stimulus to the body. Now I need to get out and grow. Now some people be like, well, I got 455. Let's see 410. I got 410. Let's go 415. And they keep going, which, don't get me wrong. Some people's bodies can handle it. But the average person that doesn't have those genetics for what we're doing, they're going to have to take more time to recover. I think more people try to train more to get better results rather than trying to train harder with, the same amount of volume.
We have a good question here at Facebook from Leaf Anderson.
Leaf, Leaf? Shout out to Leaf. He runs some awesome fucking natty bodybuilding shows. And as a fake natty myself, I'd like to say, wait, Jerry's half natty though.
Now that I'm a little older, I'm a quarter natty. So it's,
Oh, cool. Now he's working his way up. All right.
With T2G, is the recommended dose on the label what you would consider the optimal dose, or will going beyond the recommended dose provide additional benefits?
So we tried that. We tried going with more, didn't see any different results with it. And everything that we read through all the literature and stuff showed that those were the dosages that were used. Now, when you're formulating a supplement, Leaf, a lot of times people look at the data, they'll look at like Sumaroot or Cerelegit by themselves. Let's say it's 200 milligrams. So they go, okay, 200 milligrams, and they put it into the product right away. Well, they're not realizing what each one of those, when you combine them together, you may not need 200 milligrams of each one. So there was more research that needed to be done when you start stacking things, and then we started using it. It took about a good 6 to 8 months of using this product with different people, including my clients, myself, people around me, to see what was happening with people in general. And that's what we came up with, was the formula that's in T2G. So you basically take 2 capsules straight through. And I've been on it since we get the beta test. So the beta batch, which is like 2 years now, I've been on it straight.
So it is available at Tiger Fitness. Were you able to get the link?
Okay, so going forward, my computer needs to be the one that runs the broadcast, or we need to switch computers and hook up everything to that, because that's how I'd be able to.
That's fine. Everything. We got. It's fine. It's working.
Yeah.
We could just read the fucking questions, guys.
Yeah.
Go to Tiger Fitness.
No, I would also be. That's the main computer is also the only one that can link things in chat.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We don't need a link. Just have to go to Tiger Fitness, look up Jerry's products. You're good. You're good. We got this. Yeah, we'll figure. We're a work in progress, but I'd say this looks fucking great, Matt.
It does. There's something going on with this camera. I got to play with the settings where sometimes we look like we're on a potato, like, Brandon and Kuwait, and sometimes we look great.
It looks great right there.
Right here it does, and then I go over to the broadcast and it looks potato-ish.
It looks fine to me.
Looks a little mad.
Normal when I'm sitting. It doesn't look bad here.
Okay, it cool. Could be your computer.
It might be my computer.
I think it's your fault. Regardless,
I hope it is. I hope it looks great for everyone else.
It looks good on this one. It's consistent. Yeah. So moving forward, I've noticed, like, I look at very few people's Instagrams. I follow a lot of people just out of love. You got to follow people, or else if you don't, they'll be like, "Hey man, why'd you unfollow me?" Actually, I actually follow Jerry, and I also know him. So you've been doing a lot with the NPC. You're judging a bunch of shows. You've kind of done your thing there, and you've made your mark. You're coaching a lot of people. So I want to kind of segue into bodybuilding. If that's cool with you, if you're cool talking about sport that we all know and love. And obviously we're all very close to some bodybuilders. You have some good friends in there. Obviously you and Kev, and I got Brandon as my business partner and all that. And I'm friends with Phil. All these guys are friends. We're friends. We love the sport, and you're judging people weekly. How are the shows going post-pandemic, bro?
Oh man. So we, here in the mid-Atlantic zone in the DMV, we opened up a seminar at the shop here, which is the gym that I train at, right after lockdowns. And we set up 10 chairs because we were like, we don't know if anybody's going to show up, if people are worried about, the virus or whatever. And 150 people showed up that day, and they were all in shape. And I mean, most of them were close to contest shape right out of the lockdowns. So that told me that, like, look, it didn't matter what was going on around us 2, 3, 4, 5 months. These people were still getting after it, whether they were sneaking into gyms or whatever, they were still getting after it. Regardless.
There was an underground gym community, bro. I was in California at a speakeasy gym. I felt so fucking gangster. I'm like, Sean, because we own Iron Addicts with CT. And I'm like, Sean's like, oh man, we'll go to a gym closer here, so you don't have to wake up as early to go to the airport. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's, there's a gym open. So it's covered up with cardboard with like the fucking brown paper on the fucking windows. Yeah. I'm not gonna say the name, even though they're open now. I don't want to. I ain't no snitch, motherfuckers. I ain't no snitch. So I'm going in, and I'm like, I look around. I walk in, it's packed with booty chicks and everybody, like dudes looking good, chicks looking good, and nobody has a mask. Everybody's like crowded. I'm like, oh, fuck. It's a speakeasy gym, man. This is like fucking prohibition right here. I was excited, and I had a great workout, Sean. I'm like, Sean, this is amazing. And I'm a little like I'm less anxious. I'm just an excitable guy. I have it like you, kind of ADHD-ish, and got the ADHD action going on. But I was so excited to see like normalcy, and we just had the Iron Addicts opening, and man, there was so many. Like people were like, I think most of us were at the point, like even those, like everybody in March when we heard about this, like, I don't know, it looks bad. But I think we're at a point now where I'll take every STD and fucking whatever it is, just get me out of the house, get me around people. I want to see some girls in some fucking yoga pants, and I want to fucking train. The yoga pants, what the fuck? How do they make asses look like that? Those asses do not look that good in real life. Yoga pants literally do something to an ass.
Well, they're cutting different now. Like the girls, or the new ones, have like designs and stuff on them.
They go the butthole.
They make it, like, they accentuate lines, and I'm like, look, I've seen her in a pair of jeans. She don't look like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what you look like. But I mean, it is what it is. Like, hey, more power to them. Like if they came out with something, all of a sudden make like your delts look bigger or something, I'd buy that shirt. Yeah,
oh, God. No, that's called, remember Body Alive back in the day?
Yeah.
That was my client.
It was made out of a towel, like Terry Club.
Bro, and it was like the shirt was 12 size. Like if you bought a small, it would still be 12 sizes too big.
You think I'm going to do it somewhere?
Oh, so Body Alive. So the owner, I forgot his name, but we actually met quite a bit. He was my client at Weider. He used to run small, like third page ads. They weren't a big enough company, but he had a warehouse out there, and I think it was Venice or some shit, obviously. And he was one of my clients. So I'd go out there. And so I had a whole collection of fucking Body Alive, and I'd wear it like a motherfucker, man. I'd be like, yep, I was meat-handed up, had my gallon jug, my fucking copy of Flex magazine. I didn't give a shit. I was rocking it, man. I went to the gym. Like, it was so hard training. I don't know how, like, Sean Clarita, how the fuck does he train in clothes 12 sizes too big? Sean Clarita looks like he had a really tall older brother, and he stole his clothes.
And he just got used to wearing really big clothes.
It looks like he had like a 6'4" brother, and you're training, you can't tell where his appendages are. I don't know where his legs start and stop because his clothes are big. And by the way, I'm a friend of Sean Clarita. I'm just saying the guy wears some big fucking clothes. I don't know how I trained in that shit. because I got to wear shit like this is my training outfit. I'm literally going to train in this. This is all I own, you know? So what the fuck? Oh, you're talking about, so you had the event. So how is, dude, it's ADHD, bro. I apologize. So I went, the first show I went to was the Tennessee State, run by some great dudes, run by Sizemore, and the Sizemores are amazing people. Shout out to them. NPC in Tennessee, if you're worried about shady shit, compete in Tennessee. Very clean run, great people in the state of Tennessee, the great state of Tennessee, great bodybuilding community, phenomenal bodybuilding community. In fact, it's the next California of the 80s. That's how fucking great it's getting. With Brandon being here, we got a bunch of other pros like Courtney and everybody. Like, we got some good like second tier pros that are coming up. Bo Lewis, and he's known for some things. So I mean, we got a great batch. But I went to the Tennessee State last year in the middle, like right during the fucking pandemic. People were posting like, "How dare you have a super spreader event?" I'm like, "Don't fucking go, asshole." So anyway, dude, it was amazing, packed, and the athletes were in such good shape. Are you seeing the same thing over there?
Yeah. Last year was, last year I got moved. I've been a local judge and a regional judge for about 4 or 5 years now, and I got moved last year to national judge, to head judge, and then moved to IFBB pro judge. So I wound up going to a lot more shows last year as soon as they were popping off and I was traveling again. And every show we went to was probably the best lineups that we had seen in a decade. Like, it made no sense why, but I do think honestly that what happened was people they weren't working, and they basically had the same thing that they do out in Kuwait. They basically had time to just eat, train, sleep, and do it again. My training partner, Jorge, that's exactly what happened. They shut the gyms and stuff down. They even shut down interstate travel here. I couldn't go from Virginia to Maryland without getting stopped and sent back to Virginia by the state trooper.
That doesn't sound the least bit fucking communist Russia at all, does it?
So I couldn't go anywhere. So when the gyms weren't open and they allowed the interstate travel, he was like, "Why don't you come to my house and train in my gym?" He had like a gym at his house. So I go over there. When I walked in, all I noticed was he looked fucking gigantic. And I'm looking at him going, "Dude, what the fuck have you been doing?" And he's like, "Well, all I can do is train, fucking eat, and sleep." And I was like, "Holy shit." He's like, "I think I want to do a national show this year." And I'm looking at him like, "Yes." I'm like, "Absolutely." Yes, and we went to fucking nationals, and he won straight first place and won his pro card fucking dude, it was like him and everyone else in that class. And it was like, if he hadn't had that, that time where he was just training, eating, sleeping, had nothing else to do, he probably wouldn't have made those gains that got him to that pro card. So we're seeing that across the board. Like, people really like, don't get me wrong. There's some people that decided to day drink the whole time and eat, all kinds of crappy food and watch Netflix because they thought it's only going to be 2 weeks. It's only going to be a month or whatever. And then it turned into 3 months of them doing it, and they come out 40 pounds heavier. I mean, the people in our industry, they wound up coming out better than when they went in.
Man, you know what, Jerry, you know what that reminds me of financially? Like, we go over this, like the motherfuckers who went in and didn't just go, "Oh, I'm going to wait for the government check." They went out and got a job at Kroger. They went out and got a job at fucking Amazon, and they worked through the pandemic. Matt was fucking putting elevators together and shit. Like, those motherfuckers came out on top. So I think the lesson we learned is never wait on anybody else to help you, because guess what? Nobody gives a fuck about you. Take your life in your own hands. As soon as that shit hit, dude, I was like, "Katie, I'm getting the road." I hit the road and hit over 400 fucking vitamin shops because no one else was doing it, dude. Like, people don't realize, like, during the fucking Great Depression, Pepsi made a move on Coke, and that gained most of the market share they have to this fucking day. That was the 1930s, and some of the 40s, right? We just remember 1945 as Jews, a really tough year for us.
Bad year. Actually, that was the liberation year.
Yeah, but it was still not a good first part of the year. It was kind of like 2021. Except worse. There was obviously 6 million of our people. Anyway, enough about the Holocaust. So what I've noticed is that, like, I was talking to, I'm going to name drop like a motherfucker here. You ready? I was talking to Simeon Panda and he's like, "I had a great year. Thank God." And, he's the nicest guy if you ever met him. And he got down. He's like, "Dude, I'm going to grind on my YouTube shit. I'm going to grind on everything." He and Mike Rashid got together and did all these cool ass fucking videos, and they're fucking, both of them blew up, which, is awesome because they're really good people. A lot of these influencers, like the ones I usually associate, they're usually really good fucking people. There are some scumbags out there, but like, dude, if you come to one of our events, and Jerry, we've been to so many, events like one another, like most of the people are really dope people.
Yeah, there's very few. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some people in the industry that are not who they claim they are. Like that everything is just show, everything is for social media, and they're not, exactly who they say they are. I mean, not to drop any names, and I'm not gonna, but there's some big names out there that I've heard some straight up bullshit come out of their mouths, and I know it's not fucking true because I know the other people involved, and I'm just like, this is fucking ridiculous because people look up to you and they're looking to you to be, a role model. They're looking to you to tell the truth. They're looking to you to help them, motivate them, inspire them, and so I hear this bullshit like this one. Influencer was like telling, another pro bodybuilder who we all know was like, yeah, I made $1 million from one t-shirt design. And I was like, dude, fucking Rock doesn't make $1 million from one t-shirt design.
One t-shirt design.
If that's true, he gets t-shirts out, he should be a fucking multi-millionaire and not have to rely on other people to fund everything that he's fucking doing. You know what I mean? I mean, it gets disheartening sometimes.
If there was $1 million in that t-shirt, I'd see it at the local fucking like Kroger. Like it's like, dude, if I haven't seen it, like, but there's a whole plethora of like underground markets and something like, dude, Dr. Axe. Do you know how much money that fucker pulled in last? $180 million. None of our, dude, the supplement market, people think of the supplement market like us. Or like fucking Cellucor, and they're big ass brands. Like Cellucor's got to be doing 200 mil right now. Like they're a big fucking brand, right? Probably more than that based on what I know. Ghost is killing it. Like we got some brands killing it, but dude, these fucking mainstream brands, they make us look so like dealing with like one of my competitors is Quest, and dude, they sold for $1 billion. I'm worth slightly less. Everybody's like, dude, you're in Quest. I'm like, no, we're not even fucking close. Like they're in fucking every store on earth. They're in fucking airports. Like I'm in 100,000 locations. They're in like 10 million.
I mean, you must have seen that, with the outright bar now entering the space of the general population and, not just the fitness industry. I mean, I see outright bars. And by the way, I eat the outright bar. I eat a lot of outright bars. I eat 3 or 4 like in a row. Like as my first meal.
I gotta send you some more, man.
That's why I haven't told you I've been eating because I know you're gonna fucking send them to me, and I want to support you guys.
So sure, man. Jews are very cheap. No, man. I appreciate it. It's been it's an eye opener to realize how insignificant our industry is in the grand scheme of things. It's like, hey, man, I can get you. I love people when they go like, hey, and they try to help out. Man, I get you the store in Albuquerque, and I'm like, that's awesome. But at the scale that you go when you go in food, drug, and mass, like you're looking at like Quick Trip is just gas station in the Midwest. There's fucking 820 of them. Like we went to a Smoothie King Expo. I got the Smoothie King list, Matt. There's 1,300 Smoothie Kings.
Yeah, you were telling me that.
1,300 Smoothie Kings.
And I thought us talking like 600 people was a lot. That's not even half.
Nah, dude. I mean, we have the list now. So I got Billy calling on them. I got Billy, but thing is, a lot of them are owned by one person. So we saw most of those. Okay. So like one person equals usually 2 to 3 stores.
Awesome.
Yeah, but so bodybuilding wise, this is our first time really talking about this because we wanted to make this live. We want to make sure we had all the equipment set up. We actually built this room. Jerry, this is where you're going to sleep when you come here, probably, unless you sleep in the guest quarters. We built this room for podcasting. Literally, we built a new room. So we're going to have a picture of Nashville in the background because we're from fucking Tennessee and shit. It's going to be great. We got it on order. Like, this is a great room. It's got the sound shit. It's got the carpet. It's fucking great. But and it's not even done. But anyway, and this is, what is these? There's a love sack, the couch where you can reconfigure it for a bed and everything. So we put our fucking thought. This is like a well thought out room. Speaking of thinking, what do you think? What do you think about the Olympia next year? What do you think? I'm going to throw out some early predictions that might surprise people because I do have a.
It's not even that early. We're borderline. What is it? Today's July.
Yeah,
it's October.
I'd like to throw out my predictions after Jerry does, but Jerry, what do you think?
I think personally, and this is not anything I've heard, but I saw a picture of Kai Green at 317 pounds the other day.
That weight is, if he's 317,
dude, he looks unbelievable. And I'm sitting there going,
even if he's 260, that's stupid. It's ridiculous. He looks stupid.
We haven't seen him this sharp in a long time and this big in a long time. Now,
he hasn't started any crazy stuff.
Why all of a sudden is he going back up again? Because I do believe if him and Rami stood toe to toe last year, and we saw a fully 100% Kai Green, Kai would have taken Rami last year. That's just personally how I feel.
I'm not going to argue with that. I think Phil with a better waist will come in. And so So you think if Kai comes in, Kai will win the Mr. Olympia?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Things that I saw personally last year, I did not like Rami, and I'm going to tell you why. It is what it is. Let's be real. Rami's got a lot of fucking oil in his body. His shoulder.
Oh my God! It's like I'm talking
he
to my
had
fucking
zero
self.
striations in anything that he did.
Oh, thank you.
His quads behind.
If you were here right now, I'd play with your
big
balls.
fucking lumps in his quads, and I was like, "There's no way." Even though he's the most shredded guy and he's big, he has these weird lumps and stuff. And you're gonna say, "Hey, that's the best," and it's gonna promote that image to people, saying, "Hey, you got to go use Synthol and fill up your body parts." And I was like, "There's no way they're gonna do that. They can't." I'm like, "It's gonna have to be Brandon or Phil." And then they gave it to Rami. They went, well, "Okay, fine." They gave it to Rami. Now, my thing is, if Rami comes back this year, I feel like he has to change that. He's going to get rid of those lumps, and he's going to come in better than he did last year. And I don't know if Phil's competing. I haven't heard. I talk to Phil every day, and I haven't heard whether or not he's competing. And I'll be honest with you.
Based on his tweet today, he tweeted something today that I actually shared and put a picture of us because I'm grifting off of Phil because my grift game is fucking strong. Phil said he feels and looks the best he's ever looked.
He does look.
Hashtag comeback season.
And I'm like, my thing is like, everybody likes to speculate. Everybody likes to talk about this one, that one. And realistically, we don't know until the day that you get there on stage who's going to win, right? Because everybody, I mean, was this Blessings against Nick Walker thing that was going on for like the longest time. And Blessings himself looks fantastic. When you stick him next to Nick Walker, he's not going to beat Nick Walker. He just doesn't have all the body parts and the conditioning,
Blessings is a phenomenal athlete. It seems like I saw him at a show and I didn't talk to him. I saw him at a event a couple years ago. Seems like the nicest guy. And anybody with the name Blessings, again, is someone who's hashtag cancer survivor, hashtag fuck cancer. I'm sorry, I got a grift on that too. As someone who seems like a great guy, I just got to be honest, because you're stepping on stage and you're putting yourself out there. If it was just going off an Instagram picture from someone who's like happy because they made progress, I'm not going to nitpick body parts. I'm going to be like, you look fucking amazing. But he's a bodybuilder. His legs need a lot of size, and I don't think genetically he can get there. I don't think genetically.
Look, but that's the thing is everybody had him like, oh, he's going to beat Nick Walker. And I'm like, look, first of all, you don't know what they look like until they stand next to each other. And once they stand next to each other, you don't know who nailed the conditioning, who screwed something up. That can change everything too. So my thing is like, throughout the years, I've always trying to call the shows and say, well, I think this person, I think that person. And, realistically, like people change so much. I mean, back in the day, people would be in shape 8 weeks out. They'd already be shredded. Now these guys, 2-3 weeks out, they're still bloated. And then they wind up drawing out the last couple of weeks. So I'm like, I don't, at this point I wait till they get there the day of and I take a look at what's going on. And then from there I go, okay, I think this person's here, this person's there.
I think Nick Walker is going to win Olympia or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5.
I think he's an amazing athlete, man. And you've seen him in person, right?
I have. And the thing is, I'm not I'm not a fan of his build because it's not like mine. I'm a fan of, I mean, we're all biased. That's the thing. That's why there's, anywhere between 7 and 11 judges, right? Because we all have different opinions. And that's why there's rarely ever a unanimous decision. There is, but you go to a local show and there's different votes because bodybuilding isn't basketball. There's no points, right? Like there's points, but it's subjective judging points. And that's why you and I might have 2 different people and we might think different things. Now getting back to Rami, dude, he can't look like Rami without having oil because I don't even think the guy has much muscle. Yeah, I think he's a science experiment.
I really was disappointed, man, because I thought, I like Rami too. I've met him several times. He's a great guy. He's
phenomenal.
What strikes me about Rami is he's so happy to be a bodybuilder. He might be the happiest bodybuilder on the planet. Yeah. He smiles and he says, I'm a bodybuilder. Like he said that. And I was like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Then I realized, he was just happy that he was competing on that level. And this is like years ago, right? And I'm looking at him and going, yes, he could have a very complete physique. But those, and when he's really big, you can't see the lumps. So he just looks full and huge and round. And, they get the special lighting out there in Kuwait and stuff. And when he diets down, they wanted to bring him down a little smaller, a little bit tighter to make sure he was super conditioned. And all these lumps popped out. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, look, I don't like that look. I mean, I know what it is when I see it. And I know that it's going to cause issues later on. I mean, if you're using Synthol, I don't give a shit if I can't tell. I really don't give a shit. But if you got giant lumps and there's going to be some kid out there that goes to buy this shit online because Rami's got it, he's going to jab it in his thigh and possibly hurt himself. Now, again, everybody's responsible for themselves, but when you're Mr. Olympia, you're setting the standard. You are the standard for the entire sport through the whole world. You're the ambassador for bodybuilding. So what does that, what does that tell you that, they gave it to him like that, which I completely understand because he's the most shredded guy and he was big, fine. They were able to overlook it. But for me, I just have a hard time overlooking it because that's not bodybuilding to me. You know what I mean? To me, bodybuilding is the best overall physique that's dense, hard, full, round, grainy, etc. And when you see lumps, you're like, well, first of all, his legs wouldn't be that big without the lumps. Because as soon as you take those lumps out, they flatten out, don't have that same kind of sweep. His shoulders are not as big without those lumps. So now you have a totally different physique if you take that oil out of there, and now it's not a winning physique. So it's one of those things where again, like I said, if I can't tell the synthol there, I don't give a shit. But when it's blatantly obvious, I think it sends the wrong message to bodybuilding in general. It's just my opinion.
So Jerry, I have a question. You said he's the most shredded. How can you be like, I'm going to take off my shirt right now and I'll have chest striations for days, right? How can you be the most shredded on stage without one fucking chest striation? The dude had so much oil in his pecs, you couldn't see one striation.
I think Ramy, and this has happened with a lot of the pros that have gotten bigger, the bigger they get, the more they lose the actual graininess and the muscularity. I don't know whether it's the muscle getting bigger or it's the drug aspect itself. But Kevin Levrone has talked about this very openly, that when he used insulin and growth hormone, he looked worse. He got rid of the insulin and growth hormone. He did it for one season or one string of shows, and it was his worst placings, and he looked smooth. And he's like, dude, you could pinch the skin. He's like, there was nothing left. He goes, I wasn't any fatter or more bloated than I ever was, without the stuff. He's like, but I could not get that dry, hard look. He said, so I just cut it out. And I've heard that several times from people where they may have used insulin like in the off season here and there to bring up a body part, but not like all the time like these guys are using it. And the physiques were harder and grainier back then. I mean, steroid wise, really nothing new has come out. So It's not the steroids, I think, that are doing it. Could it be the peptides? Could be. Could it be the fact that they have access to growth hormone and insulin in amounts that we didn't have back then that is affordable now, and they're just blasting too much of it? But I think that the bigger they get, and Ramy's a big motherfucker, dude. Like, I remember when the first time I saw him, he was standing like in front of me, and my ex-girlfriend wanted to meet him. So she's talking to him, and I'm looking at him, and I put my wrist, and I have small wrists, bro. Like, I can get my fingers all the way around my wrist.
Same.
His wrists are like mine, but he carries 350 pounds of muscle on his frame.
Wow.
And I'm looking at him going, holy shit. Like,
he's a
that's like the Belgian blue oxes. That's what he looks like.
He's an absolute monster. I think looking in, so we're looking at the Olympia this year and looking at placings. I do agree Kai will bring, a potentially winning package. What I see
is Kai competing?
No, but you got to throw him in the mix. He does it every year, but I think this is a year he feels like there's no clear-cut winner. Like Phil was the man for so many years, and then Brandon had his year, but then last year it was like, okay, this is another kind of year where Brandon's not really dominant. His lower body is questionable against people like Phil, and people like Ramy. Like, his lower body is just going to be overshadowed by those guys, right? So I think this is a year that Kai might feel that if he steps in, he might actually get it. And he's built up enough of a brand for himself that I think it kind of overshadows his questionable past.
Yeah.
But has so many years off, you don't know what he's going to be able to dive
You have
down
no idea what's going to happen. And also, I have to throw this in. Kai has been caught photoshopping photos.
He has?
He absolutely has. Yes,
really?
He has. Yes.
That's
so
like, through the whole last couple of years, so these guys that take time off and they go off the drugs a little bit, they lose the muscle, whether they get injured or whatever, and they come right back. Usually that year, we've seen it with Dennis Wolf, Jay Cutler, whenever they come back, they need another year or two to get back to full form. Well, Kai, it seems like he's been blasting stuff straight through.
I don't think Kai had one cruise cycle. I think he's been blasting. I
mean, we're speculating because that's what we do. But bottom line, he maintained that mass to where I think that as long as he came in condition, I mean, I don't see him needing an extra year to gain that back. But at the same time, like, I don't know if he's competing or not. I just saw the picture and said, wait a minute. What would be the point realistically? Because like you said, he's got a big enough brand. Everybody loves him. He's arguably the most popular bodybuilder out there. Absolutely. Why would you need to do that to your physique? Like, why would you need to keep pumping that stuff through your system? Why would you, at his age, need to keep your body weight that high? Unless you decided this was the year, because he looked even bigger and harder now than he has in the last couple of years.
Or unless he has a mental compulsion that he has to look that way.
I mean, I've heard stuff like that too. They've heard that people have said
it's also part of his brand. We're talking about him building a brand for himself. Being that guy is his brand.
And who knows if he has it written into his contract with said supplement company that he has to have a certain physique.
Absolutely, maybe it
that could be written in there. I haven't seen his contract, but I know that happens.
He's always been a big guy, you know, per se. Okay. But I mean, to carry, you know, he's in his 40s now. To carry that much mass, it's dangerous, you know. So unless you were going to use it, he could downsize and stay covered up and still look just. I mean, you know, he wouldn't have the same type of sharpness to his physique, and nobody really be able to tell the difference. No. But you know, he's pushing it for some reason, and I'm like, it just doesn't make any sense to be that big, and because he can drop 20, 30 pounds and still be freaky as hell. But it seems like he's pushing it, and it just happens to coincide with the time that people usually start getting ready for the Olympia. So I don't know.
I mean, he's done that. Like he's done a little like teaser every year since he stopped competing. So, I mean, I'm not going to take Kai seriously for the sake of this conversation. So looking at who is doing the Olympia, you got Brandon Curry, you got obviously Big Ramy, you got Hadi, you got Akeem.
We'll throw Phil in there too.
You got, I'm gonna keep Phil in the mix because I do think that he will come back if it's not just for the money, but because I think he has unfinished business. I had a very similar operation to Phil, and like I said last year, and hopefully Phil didn't take offense, I wish Phil would have given it one more year because it took me 2 years for the swelling to go down on the surgery. Because you're looking at like what he had, if I'm correct, and I haven't spoken to him about it because it's weird, is he had a complete diastasis repair. And that means he has mesh and he has screws under his muscle. And it's so invasive that the inflammation lasts for a long fucking time. And it's not a big deal if you're not 5% body fat. Like if you were like a normal dude with the surgery, you'd look good a week later. But if you're on the fucking Mr. fucking Tennessee stage and you have it, it's gonna distend you. It's gonna be noticeable. And you could tell my stomach was distended slightly for about 2 years. And I think Phil, if he truly heals, and I think if he goes hard, he has another year. I mean, if you look at Phil v. Brandon, other than the waist, you know, and Brandon's conditioning was stellar. From the back, Phil's unbeatable. And his legs are better than Ramy's because he doesn't have the weird lumps. Phil had the best physique on that Olympia stage, except for his midsection. I said afterwards, and I'll say it now. If you take Phil's midsection out of it, Kai even made a joke post about it where he took away the midsections from Kai. Phil used to always make fun of Kai's belly, so I see what he was doing. But if you take away the midsection, Phil was the Mr. Olympia last year, in my opinion.
A 95% Phil Heath is not going to be beaten. 100% we've never seen. I don't even know if we ever will, to be totally honest with you. I mean, I couldn't even imagine what that looks like. But again, Phil's a really close friend of mine, and I don't want people to be like, well, listen, I'm just being real. You know, I've said this since the beginning. I was like, Phil at 100% is unbeatable.
Untouchable. Now, Ronnie wouldn't beat him. Ronnie wouldn't beat him.
You know, Brandon, I think that I don't know what transpired, and I don't know what these guys do the last 24 hours or whatever, but Brandon was so hard and grainy, like 24 hours out. I was like, if he fucking brings that condition like that, and it seemed like he had kind of smoothed out a little bit. I don't know whether he was flattening out or what was going on, but you can see as the show went along, he was starting to fade a little bit, and I'm looking at him going, fuck, because I like Brandon. He's a super nice guy. He's got a great physique, and I was like, fuck, he's not going to beat Ramy. I really, honestly, because Phil's a close friend of mine, I want to see him win that next Olympia. You know what I mean? I would like to see him break Ronnie and Lee Haney's records, specifically because, nobody ever thought that anybody would be able to do it. And right now he's the only one that's got the chance to do that with 7 under his belt already. Yeah. So I'd love to see that, but I think if I had to, call it right now, the top 3 are going to be, again, Phil, Brandon, and Ramy. Again, I would expect all of them to improve from last year because it's face facts. It's Mr. Olympia, and you should be improving, at that level. 100% Phil Heath beats them all. If Phil's off for whatever reason, he can be beaten. We've seen it before. Again, I think we're just gonna have to wait till that day to see what they bring, who fucks up and who nails it.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, I think Brandon's thing is he came in when that show started fucking diced. Like he had to be one of the most conditioned Olympias in history. And I say that as someone who saw him off the stage and on the stage in a good seat. The problem is you almost want to come in a little bit off and then get better as you pose, as you get into those compulsories. So I think he could be a lot more aggressive with carbs, but I think that Abdullah and them knew that if he's going to beat Ramy, he's not going to size out Ramy. Yeah. So he was going for condition. I think it was the right strategy, and nobody expected Ramy to put down the cheeseburger long enough to win the fucking show. Yeah. Nobody expected Ramy to come in that shape. That was, in my opinion, a unicorn. And I'm not sure if Ramy can repeat that. If Ramy repeats his conditioning, he's the winner. You have to beat the winner. And if Ramy can repeat even 95% of that conditioning, he wins. However, Brandon's going to come in. He knows his game plan. They know they could get him there. They're going to suck him down. And hopefully, Matt's been filming him. He's seen but Brandon fucking trains in pants. So it's like, Matt films him 3 days a week. And for some reason, every day is fucking leg day, which, is shit for YouTube. You guys need to work on that. And
he does legs twice a week because he's trying to bring them up. Yeah. It's just 2 out of the 3 times I'm there. The other one is chest. So I'm only kidding.
Brandon's been hammering his legs like Ron Jeremy in a porno movie, man. He's been hammering the shit out of those legs like the fucking hedgehog. That guy's been going in. The thing is, you got to factor in he's an older guy. Can he put on mass on his legs? He's been doing a hamstring day, a quad day. I don't know anything else going on, but how much can he bring up his legs? Will it be enough? If he can bring his conditioning, and if Ramy comes in off and Phil's not able to fix his waist, Brandon wins. The 4, 5, and 6, that's the toss-up. I think Akeem's going to come in fourth.
What's crazy is if all 3 of those guys, right? Let's say Phil comes in, he fixes his waist, everything is good. Brandon comes in shredded his best. Ramy comes in his best. It's usually you have to beat the Olympian, the top, whoever has the title. You have 3 former Mr. Olympias that competing for it, and one of them is a 7-time, and he was undefeated 7 times. So now you're looking at it like, I don't know if it would have to be the knockout punch. Now it could just be, close enough to where you go, hey, the old Phil is back, let's go. Or it could be like, Brandon's, back to where he was full, he's going to beat it, or whatever. Like, it's just, there's so many variables between now and then that I'm just kind of sitting back watching. That I'm like, I don't call it, but it's going to be interesting. And again, this year, that's the interesting part. 3 former Mr. Olympias battling it out after battling it out last year, when realistically everybody thought it would be either Brandon or Phil that won, and Ramy won. So now, who the hell is going to win this year?
So I know, Mark, you just said Akeem fourth.
Yeah.
And I'm looking back in the past years, and I don't know about you guys. In the past, it seems like they would have given Ramy places higher than maybe he deserved because he's the fan favorite. Mm-hmm. Do you think they do that with someone like Hadi now that he's the fan favorite?
Well, I mean, I got to assume that the IFBB judges by more than who's going to be the fan favorite. Let's be real. Ramy's been a really fucking horrible Mr. Olympia. He's doing no events. He's doing no speaking engagements. If politics are involved, Ramy's out. Hadi can't speak fucking English. I'm sorry. You got to factor in. So I'm assuming when I make these guesses, it's not based on the insinuation and the accusation that the IFBB does anything but judge based on that physique on that day.
Okay.
Because if we're judging by, Ramy is the worst fucking Mr. Olympia in the history of Olympias. This has been the worst year of PR for the Olympia. You have number 2 and 3 carrying the sport right now. That's not how it's supposed to be. The last person to do that was Dorian, but Dorian did it in a cool way where we had magazines and Flex was able to go like, where's Dorian? Where's Dorian? But now in the age of social media and the countries are opening up and everything, for Ramy to be in some fucking hole in Egypt, not promoting the sport. And if he could go out there, he can't fucking speak English. And that's not a knock to him. He can't speak English. It's the truth. So in an American language dominated sport, in an organization run in the United States, I'm going to assume when I say Ramy will win if he brings it, I'm going to assume that they don't factor that in. Because if they did, Ramy should be 8th. And Hadi has no chance. Hadi, I just don't think he has a freaky, amazing, just most muscular physique I've ever seen in my life. He's just short and it just doesn't come off as well on stage. I think he's a great top 5, top 6. I don't see him winning the top 3. And I could be wrong.
Right, but that's all. I agree. But I was just saying, for that reason, do you think they keep him 4th, put Akeem 5th?
Well, Akeem,
just to play I don't know.
Akeem's pretty liked, and he's paid his dues. I hate to say that word, but Akeem's been.
But just by you saying he's paid his dues kind of negates what you were just saying with the political
meaning
stuff.
that the judges have seen him.
Yeah.
A lot of times judges, they see the look and they see the improvement, and that can, as someone who's judged over 50, 100, whatever shows, I can say that. And Jerry probably, like, if you've seen a guy before and you see improvement, like psychologically you might be trying, but you're like, dude, that guy looks so much better than he did. And I don't know where these judges are at, but if someone shows that great of improvement, Akeem has brought his physique up so much in the past few years. You got to give him daps on that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal, right? We talk about, well, this pay the dues. Listen, if you bring the physique, you will get the placement, period. Ronnie did it last year. He came in super shredded, like nobody thought he would, and he fucking beat everybody, which nobody was expecting, right?
No, I'm fighting for the fact that the IFBB. Now there was a time in bodybuilding when I don't think it was good. It wasn't. And
it does seem like it's been better in the.
Oh my God,
recently,
dude! Just knowing the Sizemores, Alan and Becca Sizemore, and knowing Bino and knowing all these guys locally and talking to them, looking them in their eyes. Alan was just at my house the other day and we talked about it, and I'm like, these guys are fucking legit people. And just knowing, I don't think Mannion's some fucking crazy mastermind like Pinky in the Brain. I think Mannion just hired a bunch of people. Like, come on, man. How many employees have we been through since you've known me, Tiger Fitness? Like, fucking a lot have come and gone. It takes a while to find the good apples and the bad apples. Mannion's running a company at the end of the day.
What they've also done is they've also created a curriculum to learn how to judge properly.
Yes.
Which before, I think that, and I don't know if this is from speculation because I wasn't involved in the judging process before, but when I got into it, there seemed to be like kind of like a curriculum. You did your test judging, you talked it over with the head judges. You went through a whole process as opposed to like, there were other federations when I was younger. If you were a bodybuilder in that federation, you were qualified to judge. Like that's all it was to. And you'd have people that would, be, natural pros. All of a sudden they're at the judging table. They never even judged a show ever. One of my good friends actually judged me on stage, and he wasn't even a judge. He just showed up that day, like, hey, you want to judge? And he's like, cool. So he comes up to me, he's like, yeah, I'm judging. I'm like, are you a judge? He's like, I am today. So I think that they've the NPC and the IPB have taken the feedback from fans, et cetera, and they get a ton of feedback all the time. Every day somebody's contacting that organization, letting them know they do like this or they don't like that, and then tried to put the people in place that they knew that can actually do the right job to keep this whole thing growing. Now we included the wellness division. We have classic physique. The IFBB and NPC want this thing to grow. They want the new classes to grow. They want the sport to grow. So in order to do that, the right people have to be in place to make that happen. Now, are the right people always in place? No, because people change, they grow, they decide they don't want to do this anymore. They're fed up with it, whatever. They have personal biases, personal things that are going on in their personal life, whatever. So people will get changed in, out, leave, whatever the case may be. But there's especially as a head judge, I actually take the judges together before we even do the show first thing in the morning. And I talk to them and say, hey, do you guys have any questions, comments, concern? Is there any question about the criteria, what we're looking for in any of these classes? Let's get it on right now, and we'll get it figured out if there's any questions. And I also, like during the and people also think like one judge can make a difference. That's such bullshit. Like it doesn't work like that.
Nope.
But one judge can make you win or lose.
But I still sleep with as many athletes as possible. Men's physique, they're usually prettier than the bikini girls. Didn't Jerry do physique? Didn't you do physique, Jerry?
Physique for like 3 years, yeah.
I would have totally had sex with you. I would have forced you to have sex with you.
You want to win.
Bald head, my tan skin.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but look, man, it's bodybuilding's fucking great. And the people who usually look, dude, I've lost some close ones. I've lost some ones where the promoters told me that he's going to make me lose because I'm not his guy. And that was back in the day though. That was Georgia. That was Rope Man. Enough about that idiot. I mean, that guy was crooked. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, bodybuilding, usually if you lose, even if it was even if you got you fucked up in that you didn't bring a package to stage that was undeniable, that there was a question. You need to get on stage. It's just like a boxing match, dude. And I'm into boxing now. I'm really bad. But, we had a kid, this Mac kid, Mac, 11-year-old phenom. Dude's a great boxer. He lost the silver gloves because, well, he won, but he lost, right? And, he walked off and he knew at 11, he's like, I didn't knock him out. If you don't knock somebody out, you don't let it go to decision. And you could do that with your physique. And if you lose, you also got to realize bodybuilding's subjective. Like, just you have 24 hours to bitch about it.
Apples to oranges.
Why can't it be compared?
I mean, social media has changed that now too, because before you could maybe say, someone would say, "Oh, that person shouldn't have won." Well, now when the pictures come out, not only will that person say it, but everybody that person knows and everybody else. So, it's in one way, social media has helped the judging get better because they can send a picture to the IFBB or NPC and be like, "How do you justify that person being that person?"
Yeah,
they can look at it and be like, "Holy shit," or they can be like, "Well, this is why." You know what I mean? Like they can actually answer them based on it, but it's like a numbers thing. When so many people would bring it up, now that's going to create change, right? So then that creates questions, and they can create, some dialogue going back and forth, either educate the people as to why that person lost, or they could say there must have been some type of mistake and we need to fix that, or whatever the case may be. So I think that the social media aspect has actually kind of helped the judging get better in line with all federations in general.
Yeah, social media is great, and as far as bodybuilding goes, but it also gives a false perception where it's really funny to see someone's Instagram picture and then their stage shot and be like, what filter is that guy using? There's one pro who was at the Olympia, and I'm not going to mention names, but I'm like, dude, he looked like, oh my God. And then he got on stage at the Olympia, and I'm like, I need to know who's posting that guy's pictures. And I'm like, Matt, I need you to use that on our shit, because that's going to be amazing. Whatever we could do, we need to use that. But that's awesome. I'm glad that everything's kind of working on bodybuilding. And so what's next for Jerry Ward?
Let's see. We got the Masters Nationals is the next show. I have to look at my schedule over here, but yeah, I'm head judging a bunch of shows, going out to do some of the national shows. I'll definitely be going to the Olympia this year, which I haven't been in a couple of years.
I'll be there.
Yeah, and it's just, overall, I think life is just getting back to normal. And my thing is like, look, I just want to be the best husband I can, the best friend I can, the best businessman I can, best judge I can. Every day, just try to be better than I was before. And I think it's working out. I think it's okay. I'm just happy to be through the pandemic on this side and just ready to go 100 miles an hour all the time again, Well,
next time the pandemic hits, if it does, you got to move to Tennessee. And we don't play pandemic here. We don't do that. We're just like, nah, we're good. We're just gonna pretend like nothing's happening.
When C20 pops up.
Yeah, I mean, and for some reason everything's fine now. But everything's good here, man. We're excited to do business with you. And we want you to get you out here to Nashville. Beautiful. I mean, we got space, we got time, we got gyms at our disposal, and we'll see if Brandon might be in town at that point. I know he didn't make it to Kuwait yet. But I can't really tell much about that one. But let's just say that international travel is a bit difficult right now. Yeah. So hopefully we get you out here and, get some time with Brandon and have a good time. But it's always a good time. I want to start inviting as many people as possible out here. It's a beautiful place. We literally made places in our house for people to hang out and stay, podcasts. We got gyms to train at between Murfreesboro, between Franklin. Like, we have a spot. And I don't know if you watch, like, there's a guy who does news on YouTube. His name's Timcast, and he's kind of like, he's an independent like me, but he kind of leans right in his thoughts. And he actually built this compound in West Virginia that he does podcasting from, and it's kind of cool. But he has like a skate park, and I'm like, yeah, it's stupid. We have gyms, so I kind of want to be like the fitness version of that. We want to build this podcast as much as possible, within reason. Obviously, we're not Joe Rogan. It's not what we do for a living. But, we want to do at least probably 2 a week, I think we're looking at.
Yeah.
And now that it's live and the equipment fits easily in a suitcase, we can take this on the road with us. So that's what's going to be really interesting. So if we go do an event, we could take this there. If we go do a gym event, we could take this there. If we had this before, we could have taken it to Iron Addicts and done podcasts from the event.
Yeah.
Which would have been dope. So that's the next step. But so Jerry, we'll get time for you to come out here, and we'd love to host you and your wife, and you guys come hang out. And Katie's pretty cool. My kids are good birth control. And yeah, it'd be, and
we're
so
big now, man. I'm watching them online. I'm like, man, they're getting so big.
No, man, my kid, my son Thomas is hitting a growth spurt. My daughter is
this morning in the picture this morning in boxing. Was that Thomas?
Thomas and Preston. They both have abs.
The taller one. I think it was Thomas. He has the same pec insertions as you. It's basically like your frame on like a little kid. And I was like, that's so crazy. It looks like a little Mark.
You know what? He's basically, well, my daughter's more me. My daughter is like my personality. She's like me, but a bit more female, like a bit more like bitchy. Whereas as Thomas is a jokester, and he gets in trouble a lot because he talks a lot of shit, which is also like me. Like they all got a little of my worst personality traits, and my wife can't stand it. Like I'm literally okay. So when you get your cancer taken out, they test it as they go. So they cut a bunch out and then they test it and then they cut more out. So it took me 2 rounds of treatment, and so I just got done getting my head. I'm standing there with an open wound on my head. And my wife's texting me about how my kids are just being assholes. And I'm like, Katie, I love you and all, but I'm literally standing here with my head open. That just got burned and cut. And I'm like, can you handle it for now? Like, what do you want me to do? FaceTime him? Like, there's a big hole in your head, you know? I'm like, so, but the thing is, like, people come over. My kids are very respectful to other people. But when they're with each other, man, they're just competitive. Like, Matt has to hear it, because our office is here.
That was a rough day in the office.
Yesterday was rough. yesterday was, and when I wasn't here, when I'm here,
when you were in here, it was rough.
Yeah, when I was in here, yeah.
No, when you were getting the treatment done.
Yeah, the kids, for some reason, I don't hit my kids. I should, but for some reason they fear me and not Katie. I'm like, y'all are wrong. Like, she's the fucking crazy one. She's the one who's gonna fucking hit you with she's gonna hit you with an object or like throw a potted plant at you or some shit like that. Like, I'm actually, especially the last couple of weeks, I'm really chill. And my wife's an absolute fucking firebrand. I'm like, dude, you guys should probably treat her nice. Because she's Italian. Those people are murderers. And they've lost 2 world wars, 2 of them. You're on the winning and losing side. He's an Italian Jew.
What's going on out there?
Oh, no.
It's like a major rainstorm. I don't know what the hell's going on. Like, it got really dark in the office all of a sudden. I was like, what the fuck is going on? It's like nighttime. Fuck.
Well, on that note, Jared, where can people find you? And obviously you can find all your products at tigerfitness.com. Where can they find you? And we're going to link it down below, by the way.
You can go to Jerry Ward. That's my Instagram. It's my Facebook. It's everything. Biohazard Training, of course, is the YouTube channel still. But usually if you Google my name, Jerry Ward, everything pops up. So.
Yeah, it's not like Googling some other bodybuilders' names where a lot of other things pop up. I'm
pretty amazed at how clean it is when it pops up. There's not a whole lot of bad stuff that pops up.
You don't have any of those? You don't have any like nude shots online or anything?
Nah, no nude shots, nothing like that.
Well, there's always tomorrow.
No. And I actually looked for my arrest. I was arrested when I was younger for drugs, and I actually looked for my arrest record trying to get my the picture that was taken when I was arrested. I couldn't find it. So even that's been buried too somehow.
That's so awesome. Well, anyway, thank you so much for coming on. Next time you're on here, it'll be from here. And again, it's been an honor, and I want to thank you for being one of the people who just reached out, even though you didn't have to. That means a lot to me, brother.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, I'm glad that it got taken care of, man. It's one of those things where hopefully if you're putting it out there, people will respond to it, that you inspire and that you motivate, and this very well could save a life. You know what I mean? And that's a positive thing.
Yeah, I appreciate it, brother. Well, anyway, till next time, thank you guys for watching the Gainzcast Live. See you guys later.
Later, guys.